In the previous movements, many things happened. In the first and the second movements, which we had already completed, humanity has already completed the first and the second. The bodies of humanity were then under formation. We did not start all of a sudden with this body. It developed gradually, movement after movement. Then our body was more plastic and baggy like a bag. That's how our body was. And the substance of the earth was in a molten state, like a liquid fire, not as hard as it is today. The planet and human bodies were undergoing solidification. Yet, some spirits couldn't adapt, and they were cut off with portion of the earth to form what we have as the moon, which means that the moon was once part of this earth planet. But because some spirits couldn't adapt, a different location will have to be found for them. That is how come we have the moon. So there are beings there, but not in this form as we are, but something similar. If the beings in embodiment there, work hard enough, they could rejoin their peers. We are on this planet. It doesn't mean that they will come physically and join us there on this planet. No. They will go through the process of birth. So you may not know that the person was actually from the other sphere. The situation is the same with planets in our solar system. All the planets in our solar system, they were once part of the sun, but they have to be relocated because a suitable place needed to be found for the spirits that failed to work hard enough to continue being on the sun. That is how come we have various planets in the solar system. By the third movement, we are talking about the first and the second. By the third movement, the bodies of this planet and humanity became dense, but not even as it is today. But it was denser than in the first movement and the second movement. There has always been improvement in the bodies. The bodies are not static. There is always improvement. Let's talk about the third movement of the spiritual impulse. In the third movement, a division was made in the desire body among the pioneers of humanity. When we were descending and putting on these bodies, we were not all performing at the same level. Some were ahead of others. So in the third movement, a division was made in the desire body of the pioneers, those who were leading. Prior to that, there was just one unit of desire body. The desire body, as we said, is the third body that every human being has. But it did not just come all of a sudden. It took some millions of years to be built. So in the third movement, those who worked faster in it, they had a separation in their desire body. But prior to that, there was only one unit of the desire body, composed of the low desires and the higher desires. But in the third movement, the pioneers, the leaders, they had a separation of the higher desires from the lower desires. Unlike those who couldn't make it then, they never had any separation. So, in the third movement, the threefold body was aligned to the threefold spirit. The spirit, its aspects were linked with its material bodies in the third movement. Then the pioneers of humanity, those who first had a division in their desire bodies, who are the pioneers, they also received the mind first, unlike those who did not. So they began exercising the mind as far back as the third movement. Mind you, we are in the fifth movement. So imagine some spirits in embodiment who have the mind earlier in the third movement, they will have been moving faster in the use of the mind, unlike those who receive it later. So, by the use of the higher mind, they are developing the third aspect of the spiritual aspect, which is the human spirit. So some people started using that and developed selfhood long ago before others. We show this diagram, how the threefold spirit is linked to its personality, the threefold body. By the third movement, these things became common to every human being at the end. The spirit was linked, and the mind links the spiritual aspect to the material aspect. Every human being, this is how we are linked. We ever presented this in our lecture. So you may go back and look at lecture number 3 and lecture number 4.
Filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see. Whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all this.